So just over a week ago, I managed to pick up this oak dining table at my local skip shop for £3. And it was perfect because I already had one identical, apart from bigger, that matched these chairs, but it needs some TLC. So after asking on my Facebook page, Craig Clark kindly recommended a carbide scraper, I said that right, and that's what I'm going to use today. So keep on watching and I'll show you how I get on. So here's the carbide scraper in question, and it was quite pricey at £21.49, but I'd read so many brilliant reviews, particularly because it cuts out a lot of time sanding or paint stripping with a heat gun. And although I was tempted to go with a cabinet card scraper, I'd need to learn how to sharpen it, and this I could just use straight out of the packet and simply change the blades over time. Oh, my supervisor says hello. So I'm taking it steady to start off with, because my first assumption was I might accidentally gouge the wood. I like this. This is fun. Now yes, that's easily done if you're going around any corners or you're going against the grain. So I'm holding the attachment at the top and pushing down and pulling towards me. And I have to say this was a really therapeutic process, because it was like a mini plane just shaving off the top. Yes, there's still quite a bit of elbow grease to do, but if you're taking off a lacquer like this, it was really easy. But I'll talk about a painted surface shortly. And here's where I'd realised I'd promised my husband to put a blanket down first. This is a messy job, but I like how it comes off in thicker chunks rather than a fine dust in the air. I also had to shave off a little bit deeper in other areas because there were quite a few scratches and ring marks. And I ended up catching a tub full of this, but obviously quite a bit had gone on the floor as well. Oh, and don't forget, I'll leave a link to everything that I'm using below. Then I took a break and worked on our electric cupboard. I've always wanted to strip this with a heat gun, but I'd read that this is so much quicker to use on painted surfaces. I doubt they'd say that if they had about 6 layers of paint to peel off, and by far this was probably the most tedious job. There's probably paint from the 1950s, 60s and 70s here. I've definitely given it about 2 coats of white myself. So then I went back to the dining table and started shaving off the legs. And because there wasn't much damage on this, I raced through this quite fast. But you'll also notice I'm wearing ear defenders because I did get a bit fed up with the high screeching noises. And because I'd taken the majority of the lacquer and the surface damage off, I loved how I didn't have to do much sanding. So I sanded it with my orbital sander using 120 grit and just went over the whole piece, here, there and everywhere. Now there was also some damage on the corners of the table, and I decided to just get my router out using a 45-degree router bit and just cut it out. And it also took the sharp edge away. And after dusting the whole piece, it was time to seal it. And I decided to use Danish oil for this and left the window and the front door open. Now, I'd never used Danish oil before, so I didn't totally know what to expect, but it's meant to make it water and stain resistant, but not resistant to scratches. But I shook it well and applied liberally with a lint-free cloth. And because you're meant to leave this for about 20 minutes before buffing off, I decided to carry on with the rest of the table and then return back to it to remove any excess. And after leaving that overnight, I gave it a second coat. So overall, this job cost me £29. That's £3 for the table, £5 for the Danish oil, and £21 for the scraper. But bear in mind, you might need some spare blades just in case it snaps on you. I've read that in some reviews. So I think it's been completely worth it.